Broncos country, let's ride to the bank
Woo!
and deposit a fat bag of cash. Denver locking up Russell Wilson on a 5-year contract extension, so it's worth $245 million.
Oh.
I know. $165 million of which
Woo!
is guaranteed.
Man! Oh, brother, that's a lot of money.
It really is. Dude, look at like the way your computer looks. Like your charger.
My charger I'm sorry, I need it.
I know.
My computer keeps dying.
I want to bully you, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm
I'm not.
bully me.
I don't know. It's like
But
OCD.
for the record,
it's not
he's now
clean.
the second highest paid quarterback in the league.
Yeah,
in
so
the league.
that's $49 million a year. Behind only Aaron Rodgers, who's at $50 million a year.
Oh.
Anywho, everybody, welcome to the Sweat presented by DraftKings. I'm Emmer Salancia. She's Jesse Cofield. So we're gonna have Steve Buchanan here in studio to talk best bets around baseball. Julian Edlow in studio. That's
Wow.
right. He still works here, talking best bets around college football because Week 1 really kicking off tonight. Biggest game on the slate. UCF, South Carolina State. All right, we'll dive into that. Samir behind the camera. He's a Pittsburgh guy.
Okay.
Good luck losing to West Virginia. Anywho, and also what to wager on for the U.S. Open, tennis. Serena Williams looked awesome last night, and the EPL.
All right, we're going to continue our division previews, though. We're moving on to the
NFL?
NFC West here. Yeah, in the NFL.
Like that.
Yeah, no
Well,
doubt.
I don't know, man. There's other divisions.
Home of the reigning Super Bowl champs, BT Dubs. So this is going to be a very
Rams.
interesting division to break down. Here to do it, DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich, Jeff Ulrich, and Reed Fowler. Here to lend a hand.
Ooh, okay. All right, so top DFS player in the division, Jeff. Who's it going to be? We all know Cooper Kupp, like the Triple Crown last year. Deebo Samuel wasn't too far behind in the star department. Who's going to be the star this year?
Yeah, this one's pretty easy for me. It's Trey Lance season.
Ooh.
Look, this guy's going to absolutely break the league this year. The Jimmy G news is just a smokescreen. It's the deep state trying to distract you from what's really about to happen here. That's the San Francisco 49ers offense. Quiet Reed is going to break things. Trey Lance averaged 12 rushes in 2 starts last year. You're going to see more rushing like that from Trey Lance. You're going to see him throwing the ball downfield to rookies like Danny Gray. You're going to see him over the middle to George Kittle. Short passes to Deebo Samuel. How are people going to stop a Kyle Shanahan-led offense with all these players and an upgrade in a top 5 quarterback in Trey Lance? I haven't even talked about the schedule, which is actually pretty favorable. Got a couple teams to beat up on, in my opinion, in Arizona and Seattle. Not going to be sporting the greatest defenses. I really do believe that Trey Lance still not getting enough credit. It's shades of Patrick Mahomes' first year when Alex Smith was still there, and people were saying, well, Alex Smith probably gives the Chiefs a better chance to win. No, it's not happening. Trey Lance in this offense absolutely going to light it up, and he's going to light it up for fantasy too.
Reed T. Fowler, is Jeff Ulrich okay?
I don't know, man. I think his kids kept him up late last night. He knows.
In school now, friend. They're
Oh,
at
no
school.
wonder. No
Everything's great here. I'm
wonder.
thinking
Look how
clearly
excited
for the first
Jeff is
time
now
in
that
weeks.
he doesn't have any kids at home. I have to wait probably a handful of years, me and Jesse. But like, you take a look at, I'm on this Trey Lance boat with Jeff. He and I have been talking about it for the last I don't know how many months. Look at his MVP odds, and we'll get to that in a little bit. They've slashed in half from when we started talking about it. He only started 2 games last season. But you look at his expected fantasy points, 22.4, 6 yards rushing. Jeff already alluded to the pass catchers that he has. And we want to talk about Lamar Jackson and that MVP-type season with the Ravens, and that's a correlation you're always going to hear with Trey Lance. He's got a better offense, and he's got a better offensive-minded coach in Shanahan over Lamar and Harbaugh with the Ravens. So absolutely, give me Trey Lance. He is what Rich Rebar has always said about these quarterbacks. He's the cheat code.
All right, Pierce, there's no way it's a Trey Lance sweep here.
No, it's not. I like the Trey Lance pick. It can go one of 2 ways. It could really absolutely be one of the best plays in fantasy this season, or he could struggle because he's basically a rookie. But you know what? Let's go even weirder. Kupp is a safe play. What about Rashad Penny? He is in an absolute awesome spot. Geno Smith is going to be the quarterback in Seattle. Probably not going to pass much. Pete Carroll doesn't really like to pass the ball that much. Chris Carson had to retire. The second-round pick for the Seahawks, he is injured at the moment. So early on in the season, it's going to be a lot of Penny and defense from the Seahawks. And it's a small sample size, but what we've seen from Penny in 4 seasons, he's got over 5 yards per carry. If he can stay healthy and he's going to finally get volume, he could absolutely crush. Now, whether it goes for the full season, I don't know. But this first month is definitely going to be Penny season, or Penny week, or Penny month.
There might not be a better value at running back in drafts than Rashad Penny right now, like just with where he's going. So, as you're heading into your redraft seasons, make sure you take note of that.
Yeah, wasn't it like last few weeks of the season? Didn't he have like a couple games, Jeff, where he went like over 150, like 200 yards? It was
Basically the
insane.
leading rusher last 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
He's a former first-round draft pick. The talent's there. Finally getting
he's gonna have some soft tissue issue in like week 3 until
Probably,
week 15.
yes.
It is true. There's an injury and very inconsistent history with him.
All right, let's move on to the sports book.
That's a great
Division
idea.
winner odds. Okay, everybody. So Rams plus 130, 49ers plus 150,
Okay.
Cardinals sitting at plus 400. How are you approaching this bet, Pierce?
Let's get weird. Let's continue to get weird. Seattle plus 2,000.
What?
Why not?
What?
Look, Pete Carroll is a good coach. I don't want to hear it from anybody
God.
else.
What
you look
the
at his
hell?
record, you look what he's done. He's done that with teams that haven't been really that great on paper. I think this division is a lot closer than most people are considering. Geno Smith was actually respectable last season when he played in limited time. If Penny can play well, we've seen Pete Carroll get these defenses together. He thinks the defense is going to play well. So if the defense is as good as Pete Carroll says it's going to be, and he does have a history of putting together pretty good defenses, and Rashad Penny lives up to expectations, I think they really got a shot to win this division. It's pretty long, but hey, Matt Stafford could get injured. I mean, he's got the arm injury already. We've seen the Cardinals implode last season, so that leaves San Francisco with a rookie quarterback. It's not out of the realm of expectations for the Seattle Seahawks to pull this thing out.
Oh, man.
Rita, I mean, I didn't even mention the Seattle Seahawks at plus 2,000 in my intro to this question.
Right. It's not even on the rundown. Everyone just left. Talk about deep state, Jeff. I mean, this guy is poster child. Are you kidding me? Who's the worst coach and the worst quarterback combination in the entire NFL? It's Pete Carroll and whatever amalgamation that they have at quarterback. It's
Look
Drew
at his
Lock.
record.
It's Drew Lock. You're saying that everyone has to get hurt. Okay. So this is what Pierce wants. Everyone has to get hurt. The Rams all have to get hurt, which can happen because they had injury luck on their side last season. Cliff Kingsbury and these guys all have to basically do the same thing where they don't win games late. And for whatever reason, Trey Lance and the 49ers, they just have to go under expectation. While all of that is true, maybe in a vacuum, it's not going to happen. The Seattle Seahawks are the worst offense. I think the best bet with the Seahawks is to have the most losses or the least amount of wins in the NFL.
I like
right?
that.
Like, come on. If you want to get a little crazy, okay, maybe the Cardinals don't lose the last half of their games, but they have the toughest schedule from week 10, the Cardinals do. So I'm actually going with the Rams at plus 130. I like the 49ers, but there is that potential downside if Lance doesn't play well and then late into the season that might occur. But you take a look at the Rams, they've stayed healthy. They have one of the best trainers, too. If you want to get weird, Pierce, talk about your umpire stats. Let's talk about the trainers in LA. Like, they have one of the healthiest teams, and they were on the good side of injuries last season. If that happens again, this team could repeat.
All right, Jeff, you got a deep state answer here?
Look, it's just all smoke screen. It's all smoke screen to distract you from the fact that the San Francisco 49ers are going to win this division. They're still a good value. Why are they only plus 150 to the Rams? These two teams met in the conference championship last year. Now the 49ers have upgraded at quarterback. They have a top 5 draft pick at quarterback. Nobody seems to want to give the 49ers credit for having an upgrade at quarterback. And by the way, we're talking about if Armageddon hits, guess what? Jimmy G is the backup again. So they'll just throw him in and they lead them to another 10-win season, whatever he keeps doing. So how do you get off the 49ers here? I don't understand. They have so much depth. Oh, no, Deebo Samuel gets hurt. Well, Brandon Ayuk's there, and they drafted another speedy wide receiver, and George Kittle's there. Oh, no, Elijah Mitchell gets hurt. Well, they drafted another running back this year as well who's looking pretty good. There's so much depth on this team. There's so much savvy with their head coach. Plus 150, take it. The Rams getting that Super Bowl bump. I don't even know what to say about the Seahawks pick. It's just, again, just take the San Francisco 49ers. I can't even speak right now.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the highest paid backup quarterback in the league.
$6.5 million. So then, Pierce, I ask you your favorite team win total in the division. Is it over 5.5 for Seattle?
Absolutely. That's an incredibly low number. Reed mentions, this team's ugly. Have we watched the Seattle game? They are always ugly. They're a blue-collar team. When they're flashy, that's when they've actually had their worst seasons. When they surprise people, it's when they're grinding it out on the ground. and playing defense. That's what they will do. They're not flashy. It will be ugly. But you have Geno Smith, who's going to be pretty conservative back there. But if you look at Pete Carroll, 16 seasons as an NFL coach, every time he has gone over 6 wins. We know what he's done at the college level. You can doubt him all you want. If you want him to be Bill Belichick, if you want him to win 20 games a season, you want him to be perfect in Super Bowl and call perfect plays every single time, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. But overall, he's been around for quite a while. He manages to win games. He's definitely going to get over this number, especially with the home field advantage that they have. 5.5 is way too low for this team.
I don't know, Reed T. They got the NFC West, they got the AFC West, and the Buccaneers on the schedule. That's at least 11 games where the Seahawks should not be favored.
So as much as I want to see what Pierce is drinking in that mug, this one actually isn't as bad as his initial, right? Because Pete Carroll is the wild card. He wins these wonky games, and Seattle does have a really good home field advantage. So this one, I don't necessarily mind it. So that's fine, but I'm going under 8.5 for the Cardinals at -110. But, sorry, Arizona fans, if you're watching, there's going to be some regression. Jeff talked about it quite a bit last year about, and then this offseason, that these guys had so much luck on the offensive fumbles that they recovered that, they kept possessions going. On top of that, they had a historic third down conversion rate over expectation, like 20% over expectation of average NFL teams in terms of how they convert on third downs. Now you have no DeAndre Hopkins. Now Christian Kirk is on America's team for Emerson.
Yep.
You're rolling out, rookies or early, these younger receivers with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, who only win games in the first half of the season. Like I mentioned, they have a really tough schedule down the stretch. Give me under 8.5 for the Cardinals.
All right, Cardinals have improved their win total by 3 games in each of the last 2 seasons under Cliff. But yes, they have sucked down the stretch, Jeff.
I do like the under on the Arizona Cardinals. I'm a little bit worried that defense can regress. No Chandler Jones, secondary not looking good. I could literally sit here and waste my whole segment talking about how the Seahawks went 5-0 with Russell Wilson when their defense was their worst, and then Pete Carroll pulled the plug and they sucked after that, but I'm not going to. The win total bet here is to go over 10 wins on San Francisco.
God.
It seems like a big total. It is. It's such a deep team. This team should be at like 10.5, 11 in my opinion. And the reason they're not is because they're in the division with the Rams again. I think over 10 wins, again, I think that 10 is just a really safe floor for a team like the San Francisco 49ers. And look, everyone said, oh, well, like the backup quarterback isn't a big deal. It is a big deal, especially when you're making win bets. You need to look at moves like this. This is a big move. It gives you that padded insurance. There's an extra out. If Trey Lance, a disaster hits, guess what? Jimmy G is there. We know they can put together winning seasons. I mentioned the Deebo Samuel, the depth at wide receiver. This team just has it all. And I think for an over on a win total, the number, it looks big at 10, but it's really not that big. San Francisco has shown us they can be dominant. I think they're going to be dominant this year.
Bro,
right.
49ers stan.
Jeff,
Ulrich.
favorite player feature or total in the division. You can get Trey Lance regular season passing yards over 3,500 and a half plus 110.
Yeah, we're going to stick with the 49ers team, too. We're going to stick with Trey Lance. We're going to go over on the rushing total. It's 530.5 yards. Again, 12 rushes in 2 starts last year. I mean, let's not overthink this. He averaged well over 60 yards per game in those 2 starts. Do they dial it back a little bit? Yeah, but it's not going to be dialed back that much because you can't dial back athletes like Trey Lance. This guy was absolutely electric in college. He's making big rushes. He can get to the outside. He can get you touchdowns in the red zone. All we're looking for Trey Lance to do is stay on the field. He'll hit this over in about 12 games if he does that. This is definitely one of my favorites. And Reed, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do it to you again. Under James Conner, 9.5 rushing touchdowns.
No!
I just don't think he can follow it up, and I'm not sure if the Arizona Cardinals are going to be as good. So give me under there too.
Pierce, where are you going?
People in Seattle are going to love me. DK Metcalf, over 66.5 receptions, over 6.5 touchdowns. If you look at last season, the 4 games where DK Metcalf played with Geno Smith, 20 catches, 300 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. Couldn't do anything with Russell Wilson, was not happy with Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson was toast and could not complete passes last season. Geno Smith could. Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, that connection is underrated. It's going to be a big deal. Get all over this now.
Reed, what are you jumping on?
Yeah, I just can't wait for Pierce to name a defensive player in Seattle not named Jamal Adams. So wait. But
Luke Holler.
Okay, that's not a name. That's an XFL player.
Midi.
Lance at 2,500, I think is a little too short at plus 5,000 for MVP. I would like that. Cam Akers under his 895.5 rushing, but this is the part where you get weird, Piers. Bobby Wagner, the guy who used to be on Seattle, now is on the Rams. Most tackles and assists in the NFL. They run a ton of cover two, the Rams do, and they run a ton of single linebacker sets. That is massive. So for IDP, for individual defensive player leagues, Bobby Wagner is a fantastic play. I think he gets the most tackles and assists, even though he's in like year 12 or 13.
All right, guys. I think you three are done for the rest of your show, but you may want to hang out because we are going to select the draft order for our best ball draft. That is going to be going down here tomorrow on the show. We're going to start early, 10:30 Eastern time tomorrow morning. Our first ever live best ball draft. So 8 of our esteemed football gurus will we're going to join us to make some picks. You guys are going to shred each other's choices, and they're going to have some fun. Again, 10:30.
Are you okay? Like, just
yeah,
read
I'm thinking of Samir. He's going to be in this.
Oh my God, we're going to be starting at a special time, like we said. It's going to be 10:30. Get here early. First annual, like you said. We're going to pick the draft order at the end of this show, though, so you may want to stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. Get it together, man.
All right, everybody. What is the issue? All right. So the Baltimore Orioles promoted top prospect Gunnar Henderson. This was yesterday. Guess what? He gets up there. His first hit, an absolute piss missile to the people. It was his second at bat of the game. Ended up going like 2 for 4, right? In a shutout win over the Guardians. And you know what? Gets his first hit. Helmet falls off. No way. No way it just happened to fall off. Not when you have this gorgeous head of hair. And you know what? The first person who noticed it said, maybe my favorite prospect in baseball is Jesse Cofield over here. And Jesse Cofield is standing by with Steve Buchanan, who showed up today to work in studio.
We are here. We are here live in
congrats
studio
on
with
Gunnar.
the narc himself, Emerson Latzia. All right, let's get to it, buddy. Emerson, you can leave. All right, I'm live in studio, like I said, with DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan. Hey. We also have Gary and Thorne and RotoWire's Eric Halterman joining us virtually. Guys, we are breaking down the best bets in the MLB today. All right, so Mets and Dodgers wrapping up their series at 4 p.m. Eastern today. Kershaw and Bassett going, you got a favorite bet for this one, Steve? Let's start with you. You're in the studio with me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Give me under 4 total runs for the first 5 innings here tonight, minus 125 as Samir just jumps on the floor. You got Clayton Kershaw coming back for the Dodgers. This is his first start since the beginning of August going on the IL. You got Chris Bassett on the other side, who really doesn't get enough love because of Jacob deGrom. Max Scherzer on the Mets, obviously getting plenty of attention here, but Bassett has been fantastic during his tenure here with the Mets. These teams haven't been scoring a ton of runs against each other either. Pitching has been at a premium, so I don't expect that to be much of a factor here again here tonight as well. I don't think Kershaw's going to go overly deep in this game, but getting through the first 5 innings should cover his start here, so I like the under 4 runs at minus 125.
All right, Gary, and how do you feel about this? What's your best bet for this?
Yeah, I was definitely looking towards the under in the first 5. Another bet that I was sort of leaning towards, although Steve sort of mentioned my one hesitation with it, is Clayton Kershaw over 4.5 strikeouts. I think the big draw for me is this is plus 120, which is a pretty juicy number to find a prop this low for a guy like Clayton Kershaw, who, isn't the strikeout maestro he was a half decade ago in 2022, but he's still got a 27% strikeout rate for the season as a whole. This is a prop he's managed to clear in 4 of his last 6 starts. It just comes down to how many pitches is Clayton Kershaw actually going to throw in this game. I'm kind of thinking somewhere between 75 and 85, which we've seen Kershaw go 7 innings with that amount of pitch count in the recent past. So I'm thinking 5 innings is a lock. There's a good chance he can still throw 6 innings. And if that's the case, 4.5 strikeouts at plus money is a really, really low number for someone of Kershaw's pedigree.
Eric, Kershaw and Bassett going. Do you have a favorite bet for this one, maybe related to one of these guys?
Yeah, I'm just going to actually go with the standard Mets plus 115 on the money line. I think that's where I'd set the money line if this was normal Kershaw, not coming off an injury. I think it's correct that the Dodgers are very slight favorites. They do have the best offense in the league, according to Team WRC+, but the Mets have the 6th best, so it's not a huge gap there. And Kershaw has dropped from an all-time great to merely very good, and Bassett is also very good. I would still prefer Kershaw slightly. But when you throw in that this is Kershaw's first start back from an injury, I'm not sure we're going to get 100% normal version of Kershaw, and that small gap is enough for me to say that this should probably be Mets plus 105 or plus 110 rather than plus 115 here.
All right, let's move on to tonight's 4-game slate. What's a player prop that you're looking at for this one, Garion?
Let's talk about Nathaniel Lowe, who might actually be the hottest hitter in all of baseball. I know the Rangers team account just tweeted out some crazy stats about he and Paul Goldschmidt are the only people to pull off a month as successful as Lowe's month of August just was. This is someone who, since the All-Star break, is hitting 366 with a 200 WRC plus. He is red hot. And for the season as a whole, it's key to note tonight, he's hit left-handed pitching really well, even as a left-handed bat. He's actually hit it better than he's hit right-handed pitching. He's got a 182 WRC plus against Southpaws. So you've got Boston with Rich Hill on the mound tonight. You've got Boston backing Rich Hill with a bullpen that since August 1st has the highest ERA in baseball, up around 6. I think Nate Lowe is going to get over 1.5 total bases tonight at plus 120. Like I said, he's just been one of the best hitters in baseball the past couple of weeks, and this Red Sox entire pitching staff really shouldn't be something he fears.
Eric, 4-game slate. There a player prop you're targeting here?
I'm looking at Logan Gilbert going over 5.5 strikeouts against the Tigers. This is kind of a stoppable force meets a movable object, if that's a phrase. Gilbert has only averaged 3 strikeouts over his last 5 starts, so not particularly close to that 5.5 we're trying to get here. But the Tigers are striking out a ton, especially in the month of August, a 27.4% team strikeout rate. Only the Angels were within 2.5 points of that mark, so nobody else is really striking out like this team right now. And Gilbert has strikeout stuff. He showed it earlier in the year. And if you look at his season overall, he's gotten to 6 strikeouts in 12 of his 26 starts, so 1 fewer than half of his starts. Even though he hasn't necessarily got those whiffs lately, I think a date with the Tigers is what's going to get him back to his strikeout ways.
All right, Steve, I know you got a juicy player prop you're looking at.
Oh, it is so juicy. Spencer Strider to go over 7.5 strikeouts tonight against the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is a number he's gone over in literally half the starts that he's made in 8 of the 16 starts. And he has been on fire, really, since he's come up and moved into that starting role. But this month alone has a K9 of just under 13 for the month, going up against his Diamondbacks team that is not a huge team for strikeouts, but last time he faced them had 7 strikeouts in that game. Like I mentioned, he's been striking out guys at a very high rate, especially in the month of August here. I think he goes over that number here tonight. It's only at minus 105, so it's a pretty attractive number for me here against this really, really bad Arizona Diamondbacks offense. So give me over 7.5 strikeouts for Spencer Strider here tonight.
All right, let's talk run totals here. Eric, you got one that you're targeting?
Yeah, just checking to make sure I've got the right day here, because I think Steve meant against the Rockies for Strider there, because I'm betting on a game with the Diamondbacks who are not facing Spencer Strider. I'm going to go Brewers at Diamondbacks under 7.5 runs. I think both pitchers in this matchup are quite good. Brandon Woodruff on the mound for the Brewers Started the season with a pretty shaky 4.74 ERA in his first 9 starts, although even then he had pretty decent peripherals. He hit the injured list with Raynaud's syndrome, which most people, including myself, hadn't heard of. It made his hand numb, seemed quite scary. But he came back and has looked every bit like himself in his last 11 starts since his return. 2.35 ERA, striking out 30% of opposing batters while walking just 7%. He's back to pitching like an ace. Merrill Kelly for the Diamondbacks, not necessarily quite an ace, but he's having quite a strong season. 2.97 ERA on the year. That's outperforming his peripherals, but he's been solid across the board, and he's been particularly good since the start of July with a 2.20 ERA. Neither lineup's bad. They're both middle of the pack lately, but I think with those two starters, we're going to see something like a 4-3 or 5-2 here.
Steve, do you like that game too?
I'm actually going to go for the team total here for the Rangers. It's only 3.5 runs. It's at -130 going against the Red Sox here at Fenway Park. You know, Gary mentioned all the numbers about how bad this Red Sox bullpen has been. So even if they somehow can't get all those runs off of Rich Hill, they're in a prime spot to get it off of that bullpen here. But you look at the numbers for Rich Hill at home, had a really good start against the Tampa Bay Rays his last time out. I don't think he's going to replicate anything even close to what we saw last time. We had over double-digit strikeouts and shut out that team here. The Rangers aren't the strongest team against lefties, but when Rich Hill has an ERA of over 5.5 at home, this is a spot he struggled in all season long, really with the exception of that last start. 3.5 runs feels like a gift for this Rangers team, so give me the over on that total.
All right, Garion, a run total that you are targeting for this evening.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under in the Baltimore Cleveland game. It's 7.5. I think that's a relatively sound number, but this is probably a better pitching matchup than some people are giving it credit for. Obviously, you've got Kyle Bradish, who I don't want to give him all the credit for this amazing run the Orioles have been on, but he's been a massive part of it. Since he was recalled from AAA, he's got a 3.21 ERA in his last 6 starts. He's also coming off 8 shutout innings against the Houston Astros in Houston. He's been really good as of late, and I think he can do his best to hold his own against Shane Bieber, who, even without the crazy strikeout rates we've seen from Bieber in the recent past, has been fantastic. He's just been one of the best and most consistent starters in the American League in 2022. So I think you've got one really good pitcher, one pitcher who's pitching pretty well as of late, and then just 2 teams who have tended to go under the number as of late. The Orioles are actually 6-0 towards the under in their last 6 games. The under has hit in 16 of Cleveland's last 21 games overall. So 2 offenses that I don't really trust on a consistent basis, even with the now presence of Gunnar Henderson in the lineup for the Orioles. So I will take the under here.
All right, let's take us home with a run line or money line bet that you like tonight, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just going to go right back to this Orioles team. Take him on the run line at +1.5. Going against his Guardians team, you're getting -135 on that one there. They have been one of the most profitable teams on the run line all season long. Overall, 84-45 on the run line, hitting at over 65%. You know, a lot of the reasons that Gary just mentioned here. Bradish hasn't been bad as of late. Bieber's been fine, but this Baltimore Orioles team has been an absolute cash cow on the run line all season long. They're tops in the league. That's above teams like the Dodgers, 80-49, so just right there in that same company. So with the way the Orioles have been playing, a little bit of uneasiness with that Cleveland bullpen as of late, I think this run continues for Baltimore, and they cover this run line once again here tonight.
All right, Gary, which game are you going with?
Gonna go with that Diamondbacks-Brewers game and just take the Diamondbacks as home dogs. They're +115 on the money line. I think Eric laid out a really good case as to why this game should probably also go under. And in a circumstance like that, in a low-scoring contest, I think you're just sort of inclined to go with the team that's paying more money on the money line. Brandon Woodruff has been really, really good so far this season, but Merrill Kelly, since the All-Star break, a 2.28 ERA, and that's pretty backed up by a 2.83 FIP. He's been really, really good as of late, as has this Diamondbacks offense, sort of sneakily. And I think obviously the presence of Corbin Carroll helps that, but you know, it's weird to say I like a team that lost by 16 runs last night, but again, when you look at the way this lineup is constructed in Arizona, they are much, much more inclined to face a right-handed pitcher than they are a left-handed pitcher, as they did on Wednesday. They have the 8th best WOBA in baseball since the start of August. Like, they've quietly been pretty good in the desert as of late, so I will take them as home dogs on the money line.
Eric, do you like that Brewers Diamondbacks game as well?
I think I like the under more than I like either team, although I do see what Garion's going for there. I'm actually going to go up against Steve here, although I agree on which teams are playing in this game, and I'm going to take the Guardians on the run line against the Orioles. I guess count me less convinced by Kyle Bradish lately. Garion mentioned his run over his last 6 starts since his return from a shoulder injury. The problem is that 3.21 ERA is really just a product of that one very good start against the Astros, which, give him all the credit for that. That's an excellent outing. But over the first 5 starts of that stretch, it was just a 4.21 ERA. So it looks to me like a guy who really has just had one very good start and a bunch of rather ordinary performances. I'm not convinced that he can hang with Shane Bieber, who's in incredible form lately, riding a streak of 6 straight quality starts in which he's allowed a total of 7 earned runs, averaging just over 1 earned run per start, striking out 43 batters while walking just 6 over that stretch. I think Bieber is pitching basically as well as we would ever expect from him, and I don't trust Bradish as much as these others do here. So I'm going Guardians on the run line.
That's too bad.
That's too bad. We'll see how it works out for you two. All right, guys, week 1 in college football kicking off tonight with a huge rivalry game, the backyard brawl between Pitt and West Virginia. Let's see who Golic and Smetty are picking and if we'll see some more big rivalry games in week 1.
Ooh. And in the meantime, West Virginia, they went, I think, 6-7 last year and don't have as high of expectations. They're coached by Neil Brown. So Pitt should win this game, but Pitt also had a very uncharacteristically great season last year, and they're going to have high expectations and a lot of different players starting for them, a different offensive coordinator. So I think no matter what, the atmosphere is going to be awesome as a Thursday night rivalry game in week 1.
So let me ask you this, as someone who is invested or has been involved in this game, do you find it weird that this big of a rivalry is in week 1 and not toward the end of the season? Does it take anything away from it for you?
I mean, it is weird. It's definitely unusual. It would be like Notre Dame playing, USC this week, and that's usually an end of the season game. But I just think fans are happy to have it back on the schedule because Pitt's 2 biggest rivals, West Virginia and Penn State, both aren't on the calendar every year anymore because now they're playing an ACC schedule. And now I think Pitt usually plays Miami during that final week of the season. That's and that's not even really a rivalry, but they're both in the same, they're both ACC coastal teams. So sometimes there's things on the line, like the year that Pitt upset Miami and knocked them out of the playoff, 2017, I think. But I don't know. I think it is weird, certainly. I think it's also maybe kind of cool, and maybe we'll see more of it now. I think as, teams realize how much money they'll be getting from these big, or I guess the networks realize how much money they'll get out of these big marquee matchups week 1 when all the attention is on college football and the NFL hasn't started yet. We probably will see more of these, especially non-conference.
All right, check out this week's Golic and Smetty podcast on YouTube, wherever you find your podcast, Spotify, everywhere. All of these places that you can listen to them. They talk F1, they talk NFL, they talk the Better Call Saul finale. They also talk some college football, and we have some people here to talk more college football for you. Everson Lotzi and Julian Edlow are in studio. Take it away, guys.
Indeed, and we also have DK Nation's Colin Sherwin hanging out with us virtually. I believe joining us from Las Vegas, so thanks for waking up early, brother. All right, Jules, I'll start with you since you're here in studio. Just heard Smetty, right? Yep. She likes the Panthers. Few other games tonight, including Penn State, Purdue, Tennessee, and Oklahoma State. Oh, man, there's South Carolina State and UCF. That line's moving already, too. Okay, so what's your favorite bet for tonight's game?
Yeah, I mean, the Thursday night games, I think Pitt has been a favorite of everyone, but we've crossed over that key number. We've gone from the 6.5 that was available all summer to the 7.5. So I'm not comfortable laying the hook there. What I do like is taking the home dog in Purdue plus 3.5 against Penn State. I know that the Penn State side is going to be a huge need for DK Sportsbook and all the sports books. One of the bigger needs of the weekend. So Looking at Purdue, I just feel these two teams are very similar. James Franklin is a coach, great recruiter, but a coach in game that I want to fade. Purdue lost some key pieces. Bell, their top receiver. They lose a key D lineman in the first round.
Though.
But they return Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback. I think they've got a good offense, more, safer, sturdier pieces returning than Penn State, who loses Dotson, Clifford's go-to guy. I feel like Purdue at home getting a field goal and the hook. If these are similar teams, give me the home dog.
Yeah, Purdue quietly winning 9 games last year. Colin, what is your favorite bet on tonight's Thursday night slate? I think you're on mute, brother. Try one more time. There you go.
Let's give it a roll.
Early morning
Emerson,
in Vegas.
Good morning, gentlemen. It is bright and early here, but I did not fly all the way out here to watch the backyard brawl with West Virginia graduate, my boss, Ben Swyman, just to not pick against him. Yes, I'm keeping Pitt. I'm laying the 7.5. I think West Virginia could be really bad this year. Okay. I don't think the drop-off is as steep for Pitt as it would be for some other teams who are going to lose a pretty good quarterback and now an NFL quarterback in Kenny Pickett. But I think just on the numbers, West Virginia, this could be a year where we see some serious regression from that team. So I'm going to take Pitt, even though I agree laying the hook is not as good. If I had to take a second game on the board, I would probably go first half Tennessee, because I think that Ball State is just horrendous. Now, you got to get 24.5 before they take the throttle down before halftime, but I think they could do that as well. So that would be my other choice on the board. But yeah, I do think West Virginia, probably the way to go. Fade them all the way and just take the Panthers.
You see, this morning UCF was a 39.5-point favorite against South Carolina State. That's already 42.5, Colin.
That's really cool.
I know that rubs you well being a USF guy.
Go MEAC, baby. Give me that South Carolina State money. I'll take 6 touchdowns with the hook. Let's go.
All right,
Colin, really quick. Is the first half Tennessee, as you said, 24.5 now?
I had it 24.5, yeah. It got on the wrong side.
I agree with you. I was looking at that early in the week. That was like 19.5, 20.
Yeah,
Man.
Somebody brought it back to me. Somebody brought it up to me yesterday, and we were trying to find the right way to get through to it. It does look like Tennessee should just be able to run the ball down their throat, and Ball State just can't score. So that could be a problem
ahead
as well.
spot. Look ahead spot to Pitt too. So maybe they take their foot off the gas. So I agree. First half's the way to go. That's just that number is growing first half.
Dudes, there's a lot of other marquee matchups like over the weekend as well. So what do we have? Oregon and Georgia. I mean, Cincinnati, Arkansas, and of course Notre Dame and Ohio State, which we talked to Golick Jr. a lot about yesterday here on the Sweat. Colin, what's your favorite bet from these games?
I think those numbers are a little bit sharper than some other folks do. I am definitely looking down the board a little bit this week. I don't know if we can call it a marquee matchup, but I think Utah's just going to run Florida into the ground. Yeah. I know that sounds really weird saying that you're going to have a Pac-12 team come into the swamp and do something about it, but they're going to do something about it, and that's just because this Utah team is really, really good. Billy Napier was perfect hire. Florida's going to be fine. They're going to have it's going to be a rough season. Fans are going to complain, whatever. In the long run, they hired the right coach that's going to be able to rebuild that program. But he's got inheriting talent right now that just isn't there. And Cam Rising's going to be able to run off play action because they're going to be able to run the ball against this Florida defense. Give me the Utes, and I'm only laying 2.5. It's up to 3 now, and I get it now because it might be 3.5 by kick.
The Gators haven't lost a home opener since 1989. I know how you feel about the Utes. They're one of your favorite teams to bet on this season.
Yeah, Colin didn't play by the rules there. We didn't list Utah and Florida as one of those primetime matchups, even though I would argue it's my favorite game of the weekend. So I'm going to save this one. We're doing best bets at the end. I'm going to save it. I think we already spoiled it. We know where I'm going. But out of these primetime games that you mentioned, Emerson, the splits on the Notre Dame-Ohio State game are frightening. The public keeps betting on Notre Dame, and this number keeps going up in favor of Ohio State. I played some Ohio State earlier at -14. I'm not going to give it out at 17. But what I will give out, yesterday morning, team totals went up on DK Sportsbook, and I put out one of my bigger bets of the weekend. Ohio State team total in this game. It was sitting at 38.5 with a -105 to the over. Ohio State, this is the last time you're going to get Ohio State team total under 40 this year, and they're getting into the 40s against Notre Dame with C.J. Stroud and those receivers and the running game and a Notre Dame defense that I'm not very afraid of. Marcus Freeman's first game besides the bowl game where, they blew it once again, so this defense going on the road, I don't trust them. Ohio State is probably going to cover the 17, but they're definitely getting into the 40s in this game. So Ohio State team total is the way I'm going to go.
All right, which upsets do you like in week 1? Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, like Colin will probably have a more under the radar one than me, because he knows a lot of these teams a little bit deeper in the country, and there's going to be big upsets that we did not see coming. But for my upset, I'm going with a small one. I don't know if it's, the point spread's 1 right now. It was 3. I have some App State +3 over UNC. It's down towards a pick'em now, but you can still get App State even money on the money line. Might be a game that a lot of people cruise right past, but UNC is a team I'm on under 7.5 wins this season in the ACC. They obviously lost a ton in Sam Howell. The last time these two teams played, App State 2019 went to UNC when they had Sam Howell, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, Daz Newsome. They won that game. This is a veteran App State team, one of the better running back groups, a great O-line, a solid defense. They're at home playing UNC, who didn't even come close to covering against an awful team playing without 20 of their players in week 0. App State gets film on them now. I think App State is winning this game, maybe even handily.
Colin, what do you got? Any FCS upsets this weekend?
I'm not seeing it with FCS this weekend, but yeah. And for those marquee games that you were talking about before, if you got to pick one of those like ranked matchups, I like Arky. I think, look, Cincinnati lost a ton on defense, and I think that's being really undervalued by this market. If you can still get 6.5, do it, because I think you could be looking at 7 or 7.5 before kickoff. But if I'm going pure upset this week, you want to talk about down the board. I'm going, this is almost Division II football, but I'm taking Temple with 7 points on the road at the Duke Blue Devils. DeJuan Mathis is good enough to win a game against this Duke team by himself. This Duke team is just going to be terrible. I've got them as the worst team in the B5, yes, worse than Kansas and Vanderbilt. So I do think Temple's going to be able to go in there and steal one. Believe me, betting on Temple football is never a recipe for success in the long run, but I think we're going to make the exception this weekend, and we're going to take the Owls, who bring a lot back, and I think will be somewhat more competitive than usual in the American Conference this year.
Yeah, I think one of them has like a really bad losing streak too, right? I think they were both 3-9 last year. Last place conference finishes each of the last couple seasons there.
That's where the money is, baby.
Hey, listen.
Get off the marquee boards. Go down. Watch some mediocre to bad college football and get paid.
Okay, hey, that's great advice from a guy who knows a lot more about this than I do. So, Jules, where do you want to go for your favorite bet for week 1? I assume it has something to do with the Utes in Florida.
Yeah, I'm on Utah over 8.5 wins this year. I'm on Utah over 9.5 wins this year. I'm on Utah to play in the Pac-12 title game. I'm on Utah to win the Pac-12 title game. I'm on Utah to make the college football playoff.
Wow.
And that means they're only losing once this year, and it's maybe once, and it's not going to come in this opener in the Swamp, I don't think. I got them early at +1.5. I would lay up to the 3 on it, or just go with the money line. And if you don't like that -145, tack on like Ohio State. They're going to beat Notre Dame. Now you're down to even money. However you want to do it. Back Utah. They're ready for this game. Colin pretty much explained it. Cam Rising's in a great spot. The running game is in a great spot. Coaching advantage. I like Napier, but yeah, it's your first game, SEC, playing a top 10 team. I don't think Florida is going to be ready for this one right off the bat.
Colin, what's your favorite bet here, week 1?
Oh God, I have so many. You talk about that Utah team making the playoff. The thing that's going to hold them back, I think, is because they're not playing BYU this year. And I think BYU is loaded. If they had put BYU in the non-con schedule to go with Florida, I think they would have had enough where even if they dropped a game, that they would be able to get in. But my favorite bet this weekend, I'm going to take the old alma mater here, but not on the points. BYU and USF, neither of these teams are going to be able to stop anybody. So I'm going over 58 here, and I think that's probably one of the better bets on the board. We're looking at a lot of points at Raymond James Stadium on Saturday. I do think BYU wins. If I had to pick them to cover, I certainly would. I'm very big on, as big as Julian is on Utah, I am on BYU. I've got BYU over 8.5 wins as well. I think they're going to be loaded this year. And if I had to take something else that I loved, Louisville's laying 4 at Syracuse. I don't love it, but I think it's good enough, and I think Malik Cunningham's going to be good enough while Syracuse settles in their new coordinators.
All right, guys, we got some U.S. Open best bets coming up here, but you two, I believe, are going to be part of our best ball draft tomorrow, right? Are you part of that?
No, I like to take Fridays off.
You are. You have become very, very lazy.
Look at you.
I'm not taking it off, but I'm not on the best. I'm not on the best ball draft.
Okay.
I'm
well,
sorry.
anywho, with us having our best ball draft tomorrow, which starts at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, we're not going to have time to, have Jeff and Pierce dish out some NASCAR picks for the first race of the playoffs. So here, Pierce is going to do that right now.
Wow.
Welcome to the Price Check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the salaries for Darlington, whose salary jumped up this week. Denny Hamlin, $9,600 up to $11,000. He is the defending Southern 500 champion. He scored over 100 fantasy points in that race, and he will be running double duty this weekend. Kyle Larson, $10,400 up to $11,400. He finished a close second to Hamlin in that race. He also scored over 100 fantasy points in that race, and he will also be running double duty this weekend. Landon Castle, $4,600 up to $6,100. He is not in a colored car. Likely the price increase is due to heavy ownership at Daytona last week. Whose salary dropped this week? Daniel Suarez, $9,200 down to $8,000. Not a bad price for a Trackhouse car, but over his career, 9 races at Darlington, his best finish is 10th. Austin Cindric, $8,500 down to $7,600. 500 miles at the track, too tough to tame. That's tough on a rookie. That's tough on a talented rookie. He's not a talented rookie. Chase Briscoe, $8,800 down to $7,900. After a surprise win at Phoenix, his average finish has been 20th. Favorite play of the week, Ross Chastain, $10,000. Yet another driver running double duty this weekend. He scored 69 fantasy points last fall at Darlington. In the spring Darlington race of 2022, he could have won, but he wrecked while battling for the lead. Ty Dillon, $5,800. He's got 4 top 20s in a row. The Petty GMS cars were good in the spring Darlington race. Also, he's running double duty this weekend. All right, guys, check out DK Nation for your DFS information and needs. If you have NASCAR questions, find me on Twitter at Race for the Prize. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Catch me on DK Live.
Welcome back to The Sweat. I'm Jesse Cofield. It is time to talk some U.S. Open. I've got DraftKings contributor Jeff Pratt here with me to give us his best bets. So top sportsbook plays for the U.S. Open today. Second round finishes up today for men's and women's singles. Serena knocking off the 2 seed yesterday. So what's your favorite bet on the women's side today?
I'm looking at one of the high-profile matches that will take place tonight, honing in on Christina Buxa plus 5.5 against Danielle Collins. The numbers say Collins will be able to pull this out as she's won 7 straight second-round WTA matches on hard court. That being said, she is coming off a tough first-round match against Naomi Osaka. She's been struggling over the past couple of months. And meanwhile, Buxa has been on an absolute roll as of late, winning 6 of her last 7 matches. I expect Christina to take at least one set here. There's a chance she wins, and there's room for her to cover even if she loses in straight sets.
All right, Jeff, what's a match that you're going to be targeting on the men's side today?
So for pretty much the entire 2022 Grand Slam season, I fell back on one specific type of prop as my safety valve, and that was choosing a heavy favorites opponent and taking the under on their game total. That hasn't worked at all in the U.S. Open so far. Matches have been very tight. There have been a lot of upsets. So I'm pivoting 180 degrees and taking the over on Federico Correa's 8.5 game total against Carlos Alcaraz. I'm not really sure why this number is so low for Correa. He just won his first round match convincingly in straight sets, and Alcaraz dropped 5 games in both of his first 2 sets against Sebastian Baez before he retired in the first round. So as long as Correa keeps things somewhat competitive, he'll hit the over on this game total.
All right, it's still early, Jeff, so you can still get some decent value for the single winner, especially because Djokovic is not in the tournament. So you got plus 320 on the women's side for the favorite, Medvedev plus 200. You got to pick on either side that you like. Serena Williams plus 1,200, Narrative Street. How do we feel about it?
God, wouldn't you just love to see Serena win her last major in New York City in front of the home crowd? I can't say it's going to happen just because we've seen Serena's body just give out on her over the past couple of years. She did look great in her last match. The first 3 matches at the U.S. Open have been the best she's looked all season by far. That being said, the women's side of the bracket is so volatile. I don't really feel comfortable picking someone to win right now, especially Serena, just because I don't think she's got the durability to make it through the rest of the tournament. And then on the men's side, I have to lean towards the favorite right now, and Danielle Medvedev. This tournament has been really hard to read so far. We've already seen a few top 10 seeds bow out. Medvedev is the only player who's been outright dominant through the first 2 rounds. He's the defending champ. There's no Novak Djokovic to risk knocking him off, and his competition has been decimated early on. So it makes sense to pick him right now.
All right, Jeff, thank you. Appreciate it as always. I've still got my fingers crossed for a Serena W, but I know it's probably a long shot. All right, now I'm going to toss over to Emerson Latzia. So we've talked football, but now let's talk football. Emerson. Go ahead, brother.
Wee. All right, AJ Schultz from RotoWire joining us now. Let's dive into our weekly segment, talking some EPL bets. So, dude, I believe it's a short week. We got some midweek games. Who is it? Man U? Is that in action this afternoon? So, question for you: are you looking at any upsets here, or just like a short week like this for a lot of these clubs? Does that favor more of the favorites?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to depth, and most of these top clubs have the appropriate depth you need on these short weeks. So if anything, I do think it leans into the favorites, unless you've got a club dealing with a lot of injuries. For example, Chelsea keeps picking up midfield injuries, and they could be pretty thin heading into this weekend, but they are at home, so I'm not quite ready to bet them. Everton is one team that's been pretty thin from a depth and injury standpoint, and while they are at home, they're hosting Liverpool in the Merseyside derby, and even though they added Neil Maupay, they're still thin at forward. To get some value out of Liverpool here, I like the money line total parlay. You can get Liverpool to win in over 2.5 goals at -105. You could consider Liverpool to win in over 3.5 goals at +175, but I'll stick with over the 2.5 total in this one.
Well, AJ, on Sunday, we got the match of the week with, Arsenal and Man U, as we mentioned. Wait, dude, the camera. Samir, there you go. Way to play like a pro. On Sunday, Arsenal undefeated. Man U taking on Man U. But they play today, so 2 days of rest before taking on undefeated Arsenal. Who's at the top of the table, as we saw, but what's the best bet in this game, in this match?
Yeah, I really don't mind taking Arsenal on the money line here at +160. It's a road matchup for the Gunners, so that's certainly a concern. But Man U, as you said, an extra short week for them with them playing today. And they've really underwhelmed this season. And one of their 2 wins this year was a less than convincing 1-0 victory over Southampton. And in fact, to start the year, Arsenal have yet to concede a goal on the road with 2-0 and 3-0 victories over Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, respectively. So I think Arsenal on the money line at +160 is where I would go in this one.
All right, dude, this is the moment of truth. And you know what? It probably works out well for you because Chinmay's not here. So it's not like you could really lose ground on him, I guess, but you could gain some ground on him. So sweaty boot time, best bet of the week. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, with Chinmay's losing streak, I figured you guys just kind of banned him from the show.
It wouldn't shock me if that's what producer Drew decided to do, because producer Drew makes smart moves and decisions.
Well, I haven't been much better, so I got to get one right here. I looked at a whole bunch of things, one of which was Erling Haaland with 2 or more goals, sits at +200 on the DK Sportsbook. I seriously considered that, but for my sweaty boot bet, I'm going to go to the Nottingham Forest Bournemouth matchup here. Home match for Forest, who've completely revamped their lineup with transfers in after being promoted last year. And Bournemouth has been absolutely leaking goals all season long. So I'm going back to that money line total parlay and taking Forest to win at over 1.5 goals for +165.
All right, good stuff, AJ. I can say, and I can confirm, that Chinmay will be part of our best ball draft tomorrow. So we're going to have 8 of our analysts breaking down best ball format on DraftKings. Right now, we're going to pick the order of the draft. This is on camera. This is on worldwide internet television.
Yep.
It is going to be a snake draft format. Let's pick the order here.
All right, would you like to do the honors?
Yep, let's
Take
go.
The first name.
Now, this can be a first pick, right, Drew? We're not going to start bottom up. We're going to go first pick. Colin Sherwin. Guy's going to be super hungover because he is in Las Vegas picking 1, picking 2 in the DraftKings Analyst Best Ball Draft. Will be
Jeff Ulrich.
Jeff Ulrich, congratulations. Okay, here we go. Shake it up, shake it up,
shake it, baby.
Shake it up. Reed T. Fowler.
Number three. We have
We'll
our
be
top
picking
three.
3 overall. So, picking 4 in this draft. Tomorrow, 10:30 Eastern time. Tomorrow morning.
Chirag Hero.
Okay, there we go. That's the top half of the draft. Coming in at number 5 tomorrow morning, Pierce Dietrich.
Let's go.
6. Who's it gonna be?
Steve Buchanan.
Steve Buchanan. 2 to go.
Whoa.
2 to go. One will be 7. One will be the loser in last place. Chinmay Vaidya, number 7, which leaves
Jeff Pratt. Sorry, brother.
Oh, yikes. Anywho.
Okay, so
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, starting early, 10:30.
Hour and a half. It's going to be fun. Check out the best ball format on DraftKings. I actually love this style because basically you got someone on your bench who outscores someone in your starting lineup. That's great. Those points on the bench go to your starting lineup. It works out well for everybody. So just draft a damn good team and you'll be okay.
Yeah, so join us tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for that. You got the slate tonight after the 4 p.m. sim. It's going to be Cough and Reed, and we got Madden all day, but we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m.
Peace.